enjoy the food. I'm Mike McMullen. I'm president of the Carroll County Chamber. We have a good meeting in store for you. The food was pretty good here. How about a round of applause for our friends here, the Martins? And if you could please check your cell phone and turn it either off or on complete quiet, I would appreciate it. That way it just won't interrupt anything. So it's my pleasure to introduce your MC for the day, the chair of the board, and an immediate past chair, and a guy who can whistle louder than anybody that I know in my life. So that is Mr. Steve Aquino from Aquino Financial Group. Steve?
Thanks, Mike. Thank you so much, Mike. And yes, I'm sure I got to pull the mic down here a little bit. All right, well, welcome everybody. Again, I'm Steve Aquino, and welcome to our annual business meeting where we got a lot of stuff on our agenda today. So we're going to kind of go through it a little quick because we got a great presentation coming up when we're done with our business stuff. So again, thank you for being here, and I still can't believe that it's already October, almost the end of the year. It feels like we're actually squeezing a full year into the last 6 months because the first half of the year seems like everybody was all closed up and still doing Zoom. So it's great to see faces and everybody being here. I'd like to say thanks to CQI, today's sponsor, and to the Community Media Center who are filming this presentation and streaming it live on Comcast High Definition 1086, Channel 19, YouTube, and on their Facebook page. And also like to recognize, currently right now, any of the elected officials and distinguished persons we have here with us today. Number one, I guess we'll start off with Tawnytown Councilwoman Diane Foster. I guess saw her over there. Welcome. We have with us also today former Tawnytown Mayor and Chamber Board Member Jim McCarron. Also with us is Dr. Jim Ball, President of the Carroll County Community College, and also a Chamber Board Member. He's up there getting cake, so he's following directions from Mike. Thank you. We also have with us Dr. Julia Jaskin, President of McDaniel College, and also nominated for the board for the Chamber. Back there. Will the past chairs of the Chamber's board please stand and be recognized? Wayne Barnes of R. Wayne Barnes Life and Long-Term Care. Dave Bollinger of Barnes Bollinger Insurance. Steve Wantz of Carroll Community College. Suzette Koval of Farmers and Merchants Bank. Lynn Wheeler, Director Emeritus of Carroll County Public Library. And Mike, you didn't put my name down for 10 years ago, so past chair here. No, you don't. Will the members of the current Chamber Board of Directors stand and be recognized, please? Board members, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to recognize students from the Business and Accounting Department of Carroll Community College with their Professor Titus Mazarose Orand. Welcome, welcome. So once a year at the Chamber's annual meeting, our members elect 6 directors for 3-year terms that begin the following January 1st. One of the current directors whose term expires on December 31st is eligible to serve a second term if elected, and she has agreed to do so. Thank you, Val Giovagnoni of Ting, for agreeing to serve another term. Thank you so much. Giovagnoni. I'm trying to get through. You know, it's sometimes you get a little tongue-tied. I'm sorry. You know, the Italian thing. I'll make it better. Trust me. Giovagnoni. See, I got to put the Jersey accent into it too. You know, that helps. So I'll work on it. On behalf of the Chamber's members, the Board of Directors, and our Chamber staff would like to say a special word of thanks to the following people who are finishing their second consecutive 3-year terms at the end of this year. First, we have Suzette Koval of Farmers and Merchants Bank. Jason Stambaugh of IFS Services. And I don't believe he's here. Dr. Jim Ball of Carroll Community College. Thank you. Tiabi Page of Cultivated. I saw her, she's in the back. And also Mike Gibble of Gibble Enterprise Holdings, who I don't believe is here. Okay, we'll still give him a round of applause. Thank you all for your service. We really do appreciate it. To fill these vacancies, the Chamber's Executive Committee, with approval of the Board of Directors, have nominated the following people to serve the board in the upcoming year. Dr. Julia Jaskin, President of McDaniel College, Dr. Stephen Lockard, Carroll County Public School Superintendent, John Wheatman, Jonathan C. Wheatman, Attorney at Law, Lenny Mills, Designer Manager of Shelter Systems, Lindy McNulty, owners of Gizmos. The Chamber's board therefore recommends that the membership elect the following 6 individuals to three-year terms beginning January 1st, 2020.
It's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, did that come out right? Everyone get that? So, to 3-year terms beginning January 1st of 2020. So, again, the 6 that are going to be, that we have here as the recommendations. What's that?
2020.
Oh,
First of this year, first of next
yeah, that's Mike's typo. We'll blame Mike on that. Mike, he's got to always throw something in there to throw me off.
Steve, the next part's in Latin, so I hope you can handle it.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Okay, so the first of the 6 is Joe Vaglioni of Ting. Second is Dr. Julia Jaskin of McDaniel College, Dr. Stephen Lockard, John Wheatman, Lenny Mills, and Lindy McNulty. Please let me remind you that during this portion of our event today, only one representative of each member organization present may vote or otherwise act as a voice of the chamber member. To get the business of the meeting on the floor for consideration, can I have a motion to approve the election of the slate of directors recommended by the board? Is there a second? Thank you. Now, is there any discussion on the motion, or are there any additional nominations for the floor? There being no additional nominations, we will move to vote on the slate of recommended on the slate recommended by the board. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. The motion is approved. Congratulations to the directors elected and re-elected. Papers are stuck. Okay, now that we got the business part out of the way, let's move on to the actual program itself. And doing our programs, obviously we always have to start off with our sponsors. I'd like you to allow me to introduce the sponsor of today's annual meeting, Mr. Joe Tabling of CQI, the Chambers Energy Co-op Company. Joey, please come on up. Oh, goodness. No, that's good.
Don't get scared, Mike. It's our pleasure to sponsor this year's annual membership luncheon. As a longtime member of the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce, as well as 22 other chambers, we can easily say this chamber is one of the top chambers in the state. The main reason is due to the incredible staff. Mike, Peggy, and Becky are devoted to the success of every chamber member. They have created a family-style atmosphere where you feel comfortable in asking them questions and simply stopping by to say hi. Since Mike took over the helm 11 years ago, he has led the way in encouraging members to support CQI's Energy Co-op program. Every chance Mike, Peggy, and Becky get to mention the co-op, they do. Their efforts, their encouragement, and their support has caused members over the last 11 years to save an astonishing $1,495,000. CQI is proud to be a part of this chamber, and we look forward to a strong relationship for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. And that's our sponsors. Okay. I guess now we're just going to jump right into our programming. So Turning down the volume to tune in is something we all need to do. Today's speaker, Kelly Frager of Kelly Frager Professional Development and Training, will lead us in a discussion centering around this very topic. Now, I've known Kelly for a long time, and I know many of you have, and it was kind of funny sitting at the table reminiscing about the first time that we met, and then I used to have a radio show actually on WTTR, and I asked her to come on. So during that entire time, obviously, first of all, I took it as a free session from her to learn, the proper etiquette of doing things, such as, making sure, your badge and your name tag's always on your right side for when you shake. So there's many things that I learned. There was many things that obviously I was being told at the table that I was still doing wrong. So Kelly's great at everything that she does, and we're really glad to have her here. So let me go ahead and just do a quick little intro for her, and then we'll get her up here and get her started. So as owner of Kelly Frager Professional Development and Training, Kelly partners with organizations across the country to help them optimize the power of their people through training and professional development. Her collaborative relationship with her clients, customization of her message for professionals' realness and relevancy, and genuine dynamic delivery style are the distinguishing aspects of her business. Now, there's a lot of things that she's done and accomplished over the years, and we're very proud and happy to have her, obviously, as a member of the Chamber and being here to speak with us. So let's give a round of applause for Kelly. I don't want to take your stuff.
Wait, hold on, you got one of mine.
Did I get one of yours?
Stealing again.
I'm stealing it. Thanks, Kelly, appreciate it.
He was caught stealing one of my things. That was one of the things we didn't review when we talked in that radio interview. All right. Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and I am so happy to see all of you live and in person. I'm going to steal a quote from Ted Lasso and just say I feel like I have hit the lucky tree, hit every branch on the way down, and ended up in a pool full of cash and Sour Patch Kids. So thank you for being here. And if you have not watched Ted Lasso, by the way, you have my permission to use this 40 minutes to go out in your car and stream the first episode. Jason Sudeikis is way more entertaining than I ever am. All right, so it's a pleasure to be here, and I will tell you that I'm usually not behind a podium. I'm a wanderer. I'm a mover. So it's like Dirty Dancing where they say like nobody puts baby in a corner. Like usually nobody puts Kelly behind a podium. But our mic here today, and I want to thank the Community Media Center who's hiding behind that back curtain back there because they are live streaming it for those people who couldn't be here today. So it's great to be here. I want to start, if some of you can see this slide right over here, go ahead on a count of three, right? Cute baby. Thank you, Mike. Aww, right? You always get them with a cute baby. So I want to start, and I'm going to make the connection to why I've decided to place a baby here. Not only this baby, because I thought this baby was perfect because it probably looks like some of you may be like snoring and sleeping after your post-meal lunch, right? I see you over there, Dave Bollinger. All right, so show of hands, how many of you were once babies? Okay, show of hands, let me try that really hard question again. How many of you were once babies?
I think so.
Okay, there we go. All right, very good. How many of you, this is a trickier question. If you had a hard time with the first question, I guarantee this question is going to be a little bit trickier for you. But how many of you have had a baby in your life, whether it's your own child, it's your niece, your nephew, grandchild, right? Lots of hands again. Have you ever noticed how babies are a master at moving out the distractions? They can fall asleep anywhere, right? You can be in a crowded restaurant and the baby is just falling asleep. There's noise all around and they just totally conk out, right? It's super impressive to see babies doing this. But then at some point in our lives, we hear all the noise that's around us. So if you think about that, it's a little bit crazy. What happens to us that we suddenly, all of a sudden, we are joined in this amazing world, colorful, lots of things going on, and we start paying attention, and we can no longer, most of us can no longer fall asleep in a restaurant. As an internet doctor, though, I will tell you I have what's called narcolepsy. It's not an official categorized disease yet, but it's like narcolepsy. I just fall asleep in the car really easily. I just hope somebody else is driving and it's not me driving when that happens. All right, so very good. So back to our topic then here. This talk comes really at a perfect time because I think so many of us, in case you haven't heard, we are 19 months into a pandemic, and it has rocked our world. So people are reassessing their work life, the work harmony balance. They're reassessing relationships. They're reassessing commute time. And so as we talk about this is just really the perfect time because we also can talk about what noise we are inviting into our life. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about noise and what that is and how we can kind of prioritize what those things are. I'm guessing, though, many of you probably can guess what some of the noises in the world are. Go ahead and shout out. I love shout out. So what are some of the noises that we deal with in our world?
Cell phones.
Cell phones? Facebook. Politics.
All social media.
All social media. Television. Fake news. We couldn't stop at news, right? We had to have fake news, right? Yeah, okay. There's a lot of noise that we all experience. I would add on to those things too. The email list that we get, right? Just our email, all of those things that we subscribe to that we are actually inviting into our life from a noise standpoint. So today I want to get you talking, and Mike is going to get some complaints because I'm going to make you work and I'm going to make you talk today. So if you like the person that you're sitting next to, great news, because I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk to that person or those people around you. But before I get you talking, I just want to say kind of, one ground rule that I'll have and then one disclaimer that I'll have. So the ground rule is I'm going to be asking you about what you treasure the most. And as you go through that activity and you give some thought to that, I ask that there's no judgment. So this is a judgment-free zone. We don't judge one another in terms of what we prioritize. So if you prioritize social media and spend a lot of time there, that's your choice, and I'm not going to judge you. So I ask that you don't judge one another, and also don't judge yourself. Don't beat yourself up, right? You're all here because you want to hear what we're going to be talking about. So don't judge each other. The disclaimer then is that, well, I have several. But the ones I'll share with you. I'm here too as a work in progress, and so I'll share with you perhaps along the way some things where I can make fun of myself. Please feel free to laugh at me, all you laugh with me, but also laugh at me too for some of the things because I too have a lot of noise in my life. And also, I just want you to leave and walk out the door today thinking differently about how you utilize your most important resource, which is your time, and how you feel your time. So that's my goal, is to have you walk out of here thinking differently about that. All right? So on the count of 3, let's all practice. Remember Joey from Friends? Perhaps some of you watched it back in the day. Our younger people from Carroll Community College, maybe you have watched it now in syndication over and over again. But if you remember, Joey's favorite line was, "How you doing?" Right? So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to turn to your neighbor. I'll let you figure out if it's the neighbor on your left or right. You're all adults. And ask this question: how you doing? So go ahead. Take a minute to do that. All right. How many of you yourself replied with the word busy? How many of you used the word busy when you replied? Wait, oh, okay, I see a few more hands popping out. How many of you replied with good but busy, right? Or great but busy? Yeah, okay. So what I'd like you to do is continue on this conversation. You don't have to hit all these topics right here, but is busyness a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a need that you personally have to fill your space with busy things? And then do some other people have that need to fill their time with busyness? And why? Why do we think that's true? So keep continuing your conversation. Look at these questions here and talk about that concept of busyness. All right. So how many of you said busyness was a good thing? How many of you said busyness was a bad thing? How many of you said busyness was both good and bad? Good, I'm so glad that came out in your conversations. Why do we have this need to feel busy, to have this time? If we have open time, why do we feel the need to fill it with busyness? Can anybody think about why or share if you talked about that?
It's energizing.
It's energizing, right? Thank you, Jan.
Gives us purpose.
Gives us purpose. Great, thank you, right? We want to feel like we are in action, that we have something to do, that we have this purpose. My husband tells me, and he's very right about this, if I had nothing to do, like if I actually had whatever, an afternoon, an evening, or I didn't have anything to do, I would fill it with something to do. Yes, he's right about that, right? And it could be good things that I'm filling it with, but I'm always filling that time. And if we look even at something like technology, right? And I'm going to talk about technology shortly, but if we think even about technology, technology was designed to really make our lives easier, right? Technology should make our lives easier. Yet, at the same time, what technology has done is it has made us fill more of our time getting more stuff done because we can be more efficient with it, right? So technology is neither good nor bad. It just is. And we utilize that. So now it's like we don't have calendar issues with our time, we have capacity issues with our time. So instead of saying we have a 24-hour day and we're going to fill it with 24 hours worth of stuff, we take and we fill it with a lot more, like 28 hours worth of stuff, because we have this need to be busy. And that's not always a really positive thing. So think about the capacity issue that goes along with this right here. We get overcommitted, and then instead of us having, there's all kinds of great commitments, right? I'm going to walk you through a little exercise next that talks about some of the roles that you play, but we have all these great commitments, but it ends up sometimes creating a bad life for us because we have too many commitments. And so as we follow along with this here, I'm going to take and ask you, how many of you have actually stopped? You've stopped to think about time. Like you've just, oh, I see a hand in the back there. Okay. Yeah, so just the concept of time. I'm going to have you do something right now, and you're going to probably feel a little bit awkward about this, but what I'd like you to do is I'm going to time you. This is the first time I've worn a watch in, 19 months, I'm guessing, maybe the second time, right? Because I haven't had to really look at a watch that much because it's always on my little Zoom down at the bottom on my laptop. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to sit just in silence. I'm going to give you 1 minute. And I want you to sit in silence. You can close your eyes if you want. Steve is already complaining down here. Don't. My hook is not far away, Steve. So I want you to sit in silence for 1 minute. So I'm going to start you right now. Go ahead. Okay. It is. It's like Steve just said, it's the quiet game he plays with his son, right? Who's almost 3. Yeah. A minute was a really long time, wasn't it? How often do you get that moment of silence where you don't have noise in your life? Right? I'm seeing heads shaking like never. Yeah. Emily Bollinger over there with her 3 kids, right? Never, ever. It will be years, Emily, before you ever get that silence back. So how many of you felt a little bit awkward when you were sitting there in silence? Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Richard. How many of you got a little bit fidgety? How many of you wanted to just pick up your phone? and look at your phone, right? It's a habit that we all have now. Nothing's going on. Let me pick up my phone. Let me see what's going on. Emails, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. We pick up our phone. That was only 1 minute that you had to sit in silence. The other part of that 1 minute, it was 12:55 on October 7th of the year 2021. That minute I had you sitting in silence is forever gone. So when we talk about time management is an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms. We cannot manage time. That 1 minute you just sat in silence at 12:55 on October 7th, 2021, it's gone forever. All of us have the same 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 1,440 minutes a day, or 86,400 seconds every day. Once it's gone forever. We cannot go back and we can't do anything different with that time. So I share this with you because I want to talk to you about time being finite. We know that time is finite. Yet, on the other hand, we have something that's infinite. And the thing that's infinite is the noise. There's endless noise in the world. So with recognizing that our time is finite, but the noise we have could go on and on and on, depending on what we invite and choose to bring into our lives, that makes for interesting conversation right there. On your tables, you have a one-page little handout there, and I want to thank Advantage C and Janet Ladd for bringing the community college, for bringing the pens and the tablets there. So if you could grab that sheet, I'd like to have you, I'm going to have you do a couple things. So I'm going to talk to you about this concept of time versus task versus treasures. Right? So time is finite. We've established that. Tasks are things that you have to do, right? We can't choose every single minute of what we have to do. There are certainly choices in life, but tasks are sometimes things you have to do. And then we're going to talk about treasures too. So what I'd like you to do first of all is fill out and complete the number of hours per day. And just a little side hint, all of you should have the same answer. That was directed for the ones that didn't raise their hand the first time I asked if you were ever a baby. Okay. All right. Next, I'd like you to subtract out your amount of sleep. This is where we start to diverge a little bit. So subtract out your amount of sleep. And then finally, do your quick mental math to see what your hours of opportunity are. The next thing I'd like you to do is looking at that first question there. I want you to list all the roles that you have in life. So maybe brother, sister, mother, father, daughter, son, right? Community member, chamber board member, church volunteer. Whatever roles you have in your life, please write down all those roles. All right, how many of you had more than 5 roles in your life? Yeah, I'm seeing pretty much every single hand. Did anybody have more than like 10 roles in their life? And if I gave you more time, you would probably think, if you didn't get to 10, my guess would be if I gave you more time, you would think, you are a friend, right? You are a family member, you are a colleague, you are a professional, you are a business owner. There's all these things that you are. Those are all your roles. And so if you think about this, when you look at your hours of opportunity, whatever that is, so for me, I'm like a 7-hour sleeper each night. For me, I get 17 hours of opportunity every day. That's finite. It's going to come and go regardless of my choices and what I make. It's going to be there. So I have all these different roles. So how do I manage those different roles and what do I do? I want to talk to you. Now, if you can't see this graphic, this is a good graphic. It is a squirrel driving a sports car. And the reason why I picked this graphic is because the name is distraction, intentional distraction. So James Bond fans, I don't think I did that justice the right way. The new James Bond movie comes out tomorrow in the series, and I could not resist but having it here and utilizing it because the title for the movie is No Time to Die. How perfect is that, right? So James Bond's fans, right? So if we talk about this internal distraction here, we talk about our squirrels. I like to call the noise squirrels. Like for me, it's like goes back to that movie Up, right? Where there's like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And so that for me is how I identify with the noise. And they have done studies that show that when we are on our computer, we are interrupted by a distraction every 40 seconds. Right? Things popping up, somebody coming in. So what that means basically is we can't even get through a minute of work without a distraction coming into our life. And yes, perhaps we can get back to refocusing quickly, but if it's kind of a bigger distraction, it can take you 20 minutes to get refocused on what it is that you were doing. I think working from home has made that even worse, right? There's distractions galore, and kudos to all of you parents who last year were like teachers in the learning as your children went through virtual learning last year, right? Because that was a lot of distractions as you were trying to work. I told you I'm not a perfect person, and I'm definitely a work in progress in many ways. And so I will tell you, as I was finalizing this slide deck, it was Sunday night. I have 3 adult kids. Our youngest is in college. He's a junior at Penn State. Yeah, go ahead. There we go. There. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. He's required. We're like probation officers / parents, my husband and I, because he's required to check in with us once a week because we don't hear from him. He is a 20-some-year-old boy. And so he calls, so I, of course, pick up the phone to answer his call. Then I decided, oh my gosh, my mom's birthday is coming up, and I'm going to go up to see her, so I better plan a little surprise gathering for her. So I'm doing that with like her sisters and my cousins, and so I'm texting back and forth. This is all while I'm finalizing this slide deck, mind you. So instead of me being focused, I talked to my son, I planned this little surprise thing. Oh, and then our oldest daughter, who lives in Denver, had a visitor. My niece went to visit her, so I was like, oh, I wonder if Katie posted anything like on her Instagram story about her visit with Jessica. So I hop over on Instagram real quick to see if anything's on Katie's story. And good news, she didn't post anything yet, but perfect timing because I saw an advertisement for the Beer Deer. Do any of you know what the Beer Deer is? I will tell you, because now my 20-year-old son has his first Christmas gift, but don't tell him if you know. The Beer Deer is like basically like a rack, right? It's called, I'm not a hunter, so it's if you mount a head with the antlers, right? It's called a deer head. And it is made out of all the paper and the cardboard from the beer cases. So you're being kind to the planet as well, and that's what it's made of. So he gets the Beer Deer. So I learned what a Beer Deer was, and I ordered said Beer Deer due to an Instagram advertisement. Squirrel, 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 right? You get it. So we all have all these squirrels in our mind that are going on. So what I'd like you to do is on that worksheet, I want you to write down your squirrels. What are the things that distract you?
Not enough space.
Yeah, I know this. Thank you, Richard. It has to be a very, very long list. All right, so what do you have? What do you have for your squirrels? Robocalls. Thank you, Wayne. Who said themselves? Yes. How so? How so?
Honestly, because I go to saying I have a thought, and then it's a different thought, and then I distract myself.
Yeah. It's like the book if you give a mouse a cookie, right? Then the mouse is, any of you Who Once Were Babies, Who Have Babies would know that book. Yeah. Yes, so you can be your own worst enemy with it, right? Yeah, good point. What else? What are your other squirrels? What did you have? Kids. Yes, they can be very squirrely.
I have tennis.
Oh, tennis is your squirrel.
Tennis.
Oh, tennis. Okay. Tennis would be much more fun as a squirrel, though. Just saying. Okay, good. Thank you. How about this table over here? I haven't heard from you. Oh, employees. Yeah, great. That's a perfect example. Very relevant. How about over here?
Email.
Oh, email. Did anybody else have email?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Distractions, noise, squirrels, whatever you decide to call it, it's out there. Now, it turns out that our brains are hardwired for distraction. They are hardwired for things that are novel, the things that are threatening, and things that are pleasurable. So we are hardwired for distraction. So you are welcome. You are all normal. You're welcome. And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? So back in the day, we were, building our fire, and a saber-toothed tiger was threatening us or our family or our hut or whatever it was. And today, we don't have those same threats. And quite honestly, it's more fun to look through Instagram and see pictures of all the kids going off to homecoming, like was last weekend, versus creating an Excel spreadsheet, right? I think even Steve Aquino would probably agree that it's better than an Excel spreadsheet. I think it is. All right, great. So any action, whatever you take, can be either a distraction or traction. And here's what I mean by that, is that it can be a distraction, right? If you look at it as a squirrel, it can be a distraction. If you look at it as traction, though, it's something you're choosing to do. So it's okay. We want to give our minds break and invite noise in sometimes, and so maybe that's mindless scrolling. Maybe that's that opportunity to take that break for your brain and, whatever, go out and walk your dog or play with your kids or just do something, like see what's going on the news, whatever news that you decide to watch. But it should be intentional, and so that's why I have here intentional distraction, because that's really important. Now, I can't talk about squirrels without talking about technology, and I've already referred to that several times. And so as we talk about technology, I want to share with you a story. This past weekend, my husband and I drove up to Philadelphia to meet up with 3 of my college friends up there, and parking in Center City, Philadelphia is pretty much a nightmare. And so 2 of them work in the Center City, so they had these parking pass, and so we utilized this pass. It's like this whole gated procedure, blah, blah, blah. And so we get all the way down, we park the car, we get all the way down, we're on the street, we're heading to our first destination, and my husband says, "Oh, I left my phone in the car." And of course, the other 3 of us went, "Oh, do you want to go back? Do you want to get it?" Like having to reroute and go through this whole security rigmarole, right? And he's like, no, I'll be fine. It's just 6 hours. They're going to be roaming the streets. I'll just get it later. We were all so impressed with him. Honestly, I would have only been anxious because I would have missed my camera, right? Because really, our phones are our camera that we also happen to get emails sent to and text messages, but our phones are our cameras at this point in the game. So he was great, and he was cool about not having his phone with him. And it made me think then, because I thought, gosh, our family, the 5 of us, we really loved to travel, and we like to travel internationally. And when you travel internationally, the best part, one of the side perks to doing that with our adult kids is that, and even adults too, we don't have access to our phones because we don't have access to Wi-Fi. There's no data. We don't do the whole international data plan. And so it's really great because when we're all together, we're all together. Then when we go back to the apartment, the hotel, wherever we're staying, that's the only time that people can be on their phone. So I was like, isn't that great? And isn't it kind of liberating when you don't have your phone? Because then you don't have that FOMO, right? That fear of missing out on whatever it is that's calling you or requiring your attention. So I think that that's pretty neat. Now, there's research that has been done to this, and I want to look at my notes here because the research that these 2 Harvard psychologists did, they said it's not based on our chaotic environment and all this noise. This is according to this research. It's actually based on our minds, right? So it's we are our own worst enemies when it comes to this. It's our minds. I just told you too, our minds are hardwired for distraction. That's the other part of the research. But what the research showed is that that people spent around 47% of every waking hour mind wandering. Mind wandering. There's an official name for it, unlike my narcolepsy, which doesn't have an official name for it. Stimulus independent thought. That's what it's called. But it's where our minds just wander, right? So it's like driving. I always say to people, like, I drove here. Do I remember if I closed the garage door in my house or not? No. Do any of you? Are your garage doors open? No. Do you remember stopping at the stop sign, right? Stopping at the stoplight? You probably don't remember doing those things because you just do them, right? Your mind is wandering. It's just like things that you do, absolutely on autopilot. And so what we want to do is we want to help and focus our mind with all of this. And that's where we need to get into this. And remembering that because we can control our mind somewhat, we can also control our technology. I once had a question, somebody asked me in a group, they said, what should I do? Like, what's the proper time frame to get back to people, if they text me, like if my friends text me and I'm getting a lot of texts and I'm busy? And I said, whenever you choose, right? Remember, we control our devices. They should not be controlling us. Sadly, I think that's flipped a lot these days. So again, technology is neither good nor bad, it just is. But remember, you are in control of that. It is not in control of you and how you decide to utilize that. Oh, sorry. That's a little error on my part. You're not supposed to see that red circle yet. Okay, so we have our squirrels written down, and I'm going to have you, I'm going to tell you something, but I want to ask you first. Does anybody know who this guy is right here? I know, it's really hard to see. No guesses? I heard a Rush Limbaugh, but R.I.P. Does this? Here's another clue. Grand Canyon. Evel Knievel is a good guess. Who said that? Who just said that? What's your name? Brian. Thank you. Brian, it's Nick Wallenda. There's a tightrope walker. Sorry.
I still think it's Rush Limbaugh.
Maybe he too is a tightrope walker. I don't know. So this is Nick Wallenda. I want to ask you what you were doing in June of 2013. You were watching Nick Wallenda. I watched that too. Yeah. So maybe you were attending graduation parties in June of 2013. Maybe you were on family vacation. Maybe you were sitting out by your pool enjoying an Orange Crush. I don't know. But whatever you were doing in 2013, I'm here to tell you we're all slackers because none of us were doing what Nick Wallenda was doing in June of 2013, which is walking on a 2-inch steel cable across the Grand Canyon. Now I say to myself, as many of you might be saying, why? Like, why would he do that? Like, what was waiting? He walked, it was 1,500 feet in the air, a quarter of a mile, which doesn't sound like a lot, unless you're 1,500 feet in the air and the wind is blowing a little bit. It took him 22 minutes to get from one side to the other on the part of the canyon that he crossed. And you say, why? What was over there waiting for him on the other side? Right? So was that his ego? Was it glory? Was his family waiting over there for him? Was it a challenge that he felt the need to rise up to? Was it a Chick-fil-A spicy chicken sandwich that he wanted to get over there to, right? We don't know, but he walked across the Grand Canyon for that. On your worksheet, I would like to ask you to identify what it is that you would walk across the Grand Canyon for. What are your treasures that would cause you to be on that 2-inch? Yes, some people are saying like nothing, like you are all on your own. If you're on the other side, goodbye. What do you treasure so much that you would get yourself up on a 2-inch steel cable and walk 1,500 feet suspended in the air? Fran, are you out? I'm seeing Fran is out back there. Go ahead, take some time and think about those things that you treasure the most that you would do that for. Thank you. right. Anyone want to share what they listed? And by the way, I put on there intentionally, like in no order of priorities there, because in case anybody sees this, like I know Emily, your Dave's favorite daughter, and I didn't want to cause any problems. Or Mike, if you put Henry, your dog, in front of Marcia, I don't want to cause any divorce over this talk right here. So I have another little disclaimer on here, right? In no particular order. Would anybody be willing to share what they had as one of their treasures? Back there. Wife and family, thank you. I'm seeing some heads shaking there. Diane Foster, what did you have? Family, health, and time. Great, thank you. Dr. Ball, you had your hand raised as well?
My job, my family, and music.
And your music. Oh, good. Okay, great. Karen. Friends who are like family. Awesome. Excellent. Marlene. A good night's sleep. Amen to that. Yeah. Yeah. What did you have for your sleep when you had to subtract that out? Like 2 minus 2 plus 3, right? Like a little disjointed. So there's things that we treasure, right? And we know that our time is finite, and we have these things that we treasure. We have all these roles in here. We're sensing what our squirrels are, what distracts us. So these are things that would get you to the other side then of that Grand Canyon and have you walking across there. These are your most important things. Just out of curiosity, and I don't want to see your hand because remember this is a no judgment zone. Any of you have your laptop? Did any of you list your phone okay, so that was not a treasure. Yeah, it's like, you know how the saying goes, is like people usually don't say, oh, I wish, on their deathbed, I wish I would have spent more time at work, right? And typically they're also not saying, I wish I would have posted more often on Facebook. Or I wish I would have shared more pictures of the food that I eat on Instagram. You're usually not saying those types of things when you're on your deathbed, right? So if you think of it kind of with that begin with the end in mind and work backwards that way, you can do that. So what do? Here's time for the big, awkward silence. We say no, right? And I have here, we default to no. So when we think about our finite time and the infinite amount of noise that is out there, we need to start defaulting to no and not inviting things in. It's our choice, right? Our mind, our choice. And we know our mind, how it's wired, so we're kind of working against ourselves a little bit. But default to no. And no is a complete sentence, by the way. So when we say no, no thank you. Or thank you for that opportunity. It sounds really interesting. It's not what I'm inviting into my schedule right now. Or I don't have that capacity at this time. I appreciate you thinking of me. No. And when you get to a yes, make it be a slow yes, meaning it's slow so that you can think and you can make sure that that yes can be said with a happy heart. So my rule is before I say yes to things, I can do it with a happy heart. I too, like all of you, have many roles in life. And so whatever role that I'm in and or things that I'm saying yes to, I want to be able to show up fully at 110%. And so when you say yes, make sure your heart is happy. Because if you say yes and you can't answer that question, you're going to be resentful. It's going to be a negative experience. You're not going to be happy. And I guarantee you that amount of time that you've spent with that person doing that thing, whatever it is, it's gone forever. Remember, it's finite. So say yes with that happy heart. Oh, there, my little heart floated up. I forgot that right there. Okay, so how do we do this then, setting some boundaries to create some space for us? And I like to think of this as putting on our oxygen mask first. So when you fly, you know how they say if you're flying with young children today, and the oxygen masks pop down, which I'm like, oh, for heaven's sakes, if the plane's going down, the plane's going down. The oxygen mask probably will not do me any good at all. But they say put that oxygen mask on before you help the young people that you're with and put their help them on with their masks. So this is how do you put on your own oxygen mask so that you can show up as a better person, as a better professional, as a better community member. You got to take care of yourself before you can give to others. And so how do you set these boundaries? And I talk about boundaries here, recognizing that this audience in front of me and so many of you in the future that are here from Carroll Community College, we're collaborators, right? We live in this amazing community in Carroll County, and so we are collaborators. We want to help each other out. So that, defaulting to no and only saying yes with a happy heart, make sure you're putting on your oxygen mask first and setting these boundaries so that you can do that. Your yeses can be with a happy heart. They're up to you. The boundaries are fully up to you to set. There's something called opportunity costs. For those people who are in accounting here, you know what opportunity cost is. It is purchasing one thing instead of purchasing another, right? You have this dollar amount and you need to make a choice. Do I do this or do I do this? It's the same exact way with our time, right? Opportunity. We have time as opportunity cost. So when you think about that, if I decide to, in the morning, grab my phone right away and hop on Instagram, hop on Twitter, that might be 30 minutes suddenly when I look up that took away from time maybe where I wanted to work out. Maybe I wanted to reach out to some friends via text that could use my support. So remember, opportunity costs right there. We always want to replace our bad habits with our good ones. I do have bad habits too, that reaching for the phone in the morning. I don't keep my phone up in the bedroom, but when I go downstairs and I go over to the docking station and I pick up my phone, I should not do that. I use it though because I use my music on Spotify when I like to do my workout, so that's why I get it in my hands right away. But sometimes I have the bad habit is I'll check my email, so we don't want to do that. Unsubscribe, right? Unsubscribing to things, that's your choice. It's like clearing that, clearing all those voices out, and then ask yourself. And Diane had shared with me something that she saw recently, and I said, gosh, the same thing is pretty much in the presentation. So ask yourself, what can I not do today so that I can create space for what I do want to do? So what can I not do and get off of my list so I can create space for what I do want to do? And as we, wrap it up, for me, one of the things that I reflected the most on in the 19 months that we've experienced is relationships. And when I cut out noise, unnecessary noise out of my life, it opens up so many more opportunities to build and grow those relationships. And that was what I was really most thankful for as we went through. And so for me, even as a business professional, having relationships with my clients, that once we all got over the initial shock of what was happening to us, we could get back to kind of business as usual as what we could, or kind of refiguring out what things look like. But it was always about the relationships that were there in front of me. And I think here too that time is the currency of our relationships, right? There's no way for us to invest in these relationships without investing in your time. I recently did a little reorganization project in our closet, and I had many boxes of running shoes. I used to run a lot, and so every 6 months I would get a new pair of running shoes, and so I had all these shoe boxes, and my shoe boxes were full of notes from my kids and my husband. And then I had other shoe boxes that were full of notes and mementos from things that I had done, experienced, maybe, a ticket if we went to see a concert, or a program from Starry Night at the college, things like that. And there are also cards that people sent me. And I just think to myself, you know what? Now that I have a super organized closet, I'm totally okay with this. When I'm gone and somebody walks in to my room to see what I've left behind, now they see nicely organized and really nice storage boxes. All of these boxes that are just full of notes and thoughts from other people and the relationships that have been built over time. And that, in the end, is for me the most noise I'm going to welcome into my life, is the noise of other people and building those relationships. So I want to thank you all today, and I want to encourage all of you to continue to work on this. The last question is the most important question. Who is getting, or who or what, is getting the best of you? Who or what is getting the best of you? So when you make your choice to go into the office and do some extra work at night, that is a choice that you're making, that you're not giving then of your time of something else, of somebody else, right? So it's a choice, no right or wrong, but just be really conscious about who is getting the best of you. or what is getting the best of you? Is Twitter getting the best of you? Is that how you're showing up? But make sure you're conscious of that. So I hope that this has been an opportunity for all of you to reflect on what noise you invite into your life, how you can kind of manage that noise a little bit more, and show up better as a community member, as a chamber member, and as a professional and a friend and a family member too. So I want to thank Mike and the chamber for having me here once again. Richard Turner, Aaron back there behind the curtain from the Community Media Center. So thank you all very much. It's a pleasure, as always, to be here, and I'm very grateful for it. And I still feel like I fell into a pool of cash and Sour Patch Kids. So thank you. Here, I'll exit this.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I called Kelly, it was like 6 weeks ago, and said, I'd love to have you speak. And I don't know what hit me or something, but I was just looking at how busy life is. And everybody's so busy. And yet at the end of the day, it was that old cliche that on your deathbed, you don't say, man, I wish I'd got one more member for the chamber, or I wish we'd got one more grant for the foundation, or I wish we'd done, and I think people just forget about that. And I remember back in my life, this one church that I went to for a long time. I was young, we had 4 kids, and I can't believe the stuff I was doing the music every week for 15 years, and all these committees and things with kids and all the sporting events, and it's like, where does the time go? So I just thought it'd be really good for us to take stock of the fact that we do have time. And we maybe can't manage time, but we can control what we do with our time. So, Kelly, you did a great job. Thank you. And our friends from CMC, thank you guys very much. These guys are great, and they do so many things for the community, and they don't go, rah, rah, look at us, but I'm going to say, rah, rah, look at them. These guys are great. Thank you. And the new people who've agreed to serve on the board. Kelly, there's one thing I don't agree with from your presentation. Say no, not to me. When I ask you to be on the board, there's no involved. There's only a yes, and I really appreciate it from all you guys. So I'm actually only kidding, Steve, so I'm not being that out of line. But thank you to the new people on the board who are going to serve starting next year. Thank you, guys. And our sponsor, CQI, they can save you major money. They can save you the cost of your dues. Talk to Joe. Martin's another great job on the food. Steve, you did a great job. I only botched up the script one time on you, but it was pretty major, so I am sorry about that. We sponsored something as the chamber for the North Carroll Business Alliance, and I end up with 2 tickets that cannot be used, but if anybody here would like them, it's this coming Saturday from 6 to 10 at the Oakmont Green Golf Club. And these will be free for you. They would have been $60 a piece, and I'm sure there's a meal involved and all that. So if you'd like these tickets, I just don't want them to go to waste. Come and see me now. Don, I see you smiling, so if you want them, these are yours, okay? Oh, you're just smiling because you're happy. Okay, good. What else did upcoming events that we have. Thursday the 14th, which will be next week, we have a new member meet and greet at the town mall. We'd love to have you come meet some of our members. I think we've got like 16 or more that are going to be there. Tuesday the 19th, we have a commissioner update. And I think it's Commissioner Frazier, and I know it's going to be at the Union Mills Homestead. So we have a PM Connection after-hour event on the 28th of October at John Allen's place, Advantage Internet Marketing on Main Street in Westminster. We're going to Ireland March 15th of next year. So by then, COVID's going to be like, people won't even know what it is anymore. It's going to be so far gone, you won't believe it. So I'm going to have you sign up for that trip. And we'll be there over St. Patrick's Day. And then we're going to Greece in 2022. So we'd love to have you sign up for that. Only other thing that I would like to leave you with, whenever I get a group like this, I like to say, please shop local, right? We've got Christmas coming. All the holidays are upon us. People are going to be out there buying stuff. You're going to be looking for last-minute gift ideas. Everybody does. At least I know I do. You don't need to go to Amazon and get a gift card, okay? Get a gift card to a local restaurant, preferably a chamber member. Check our website. If you can't find one there, which would be pretty insane, get it from anybody local. Some local shop, some local restaurant. Give that to the person that you're looking to give a gift to. it makes a major difference, okay? I always say, now maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Amazon pays any local taxes. I don't think they sponsor any Little League teams. I don't think they give you any things for your nonprofit bazaars and auctions, but yet everybody goes to them because it's really easy, right? Well, step out, take care of the folks who take care of you. That's it. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. Talk to you later.